Hiya, here we are at last. The epilogue, basically. Thank you for being with me on this little journey. This is the first story that I ever wrote, and thank you. 2 days later, both mother and baby were doing well. The baby, who had been named John after Jane's grandfather, had been put in the neonatal unit, but was making great progress. A couple of days later, and the baby was brought in to Jane briefly for her to hold. "Now listen, mister, I know you're going to face a lot of challenges, but you're going to succeed, just like your mummy." Jane had cooed softly as she held him briefly. He was a tiny baby and his lungs were slightly underdeveloped, but he was already an amazing little boy, showing every sign that he would fight with tooth and nail to stay right where he was. Leanne got a parcel out of her bag and gave it to Jane. "For the new mother," explained Leanne. Jane nodded and thanked her, tears shining in her eyes. "Thanks for what you did, Lee." Jane opened the parcel to find a box of chocolates. "Oh, now, I nearly forgot. I've got something for you too." Jane reached down and produced a parcel. Leanne opened it and stared hard. Jane tried to stifle a giggle. I know there's a joke in here somewhere," said Leanne, trying to control her laughter. Jane and Mitch were bemused until Leanne held up whatever it was, and then they too understood, for in her hand was a box of Matchmaker chocolates. "I thought it suited you," laughed Jane. "Cheeky cow," said Leanne, beginning to laugh anew. Undoing the box, she held it out. "Anyone care for a matchmaker?" Frank put his arms around Leanne and said, "Nah, I've got my little matchmaker." Leanne pretended to be very offended. "Get off, you cheeky beggar," she retorted as she took a bite from one of the chocolates, and the room filled with laughter and an aura of pure joy. 4 weeks later, and the Adamses were bringing baby John home. He was already establishing himself as a fighter. It was also clear he was going to break a few hearts as he got older. As they pulled up outside the house, Jane said softly to the tiny little boy in her arms, "Well, baby John, this is your house." After feeding him, she and Mitch laid him in his cot. Mitch put an arm around his wife. Jane looked first at her husband, then at the baby sleeping in his cot, and tears filled her eyes. Nothing was ever impossible, for here she was with the wonderful husband and baby she never thought she'd ever see in a million years. Dreams do come true, she thought, leaning into her husband's embrace. Life doesn't get much better than this. The end. Bye.